In my world, in the forgiveness world, you said something at the beginning of the podcast that nobody's ever said before. You said forgiveness is delightful. I think you're the only person that's ever said that to me, because for many people, forgiveness is not really delightful. And for people listening or watching this right now, they're thinking about the unforgivable person that's in their life who
Sure.
is not delightful. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a dumpster fire, unforgivable, that's what everybody thinks. So the word scares everybody because very reasonably, they don't want to forgive their number 10 unforgivable person. Sometimes it's not even appropriate to forgive that person. So in my world, here we go, buckle up, people. You don't have to forgive that number 10 person.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to help empower you to live your most daring and fulfilling life. I'm thrilled to have you join us today, and I appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to be a part of our journey. Together, let's embark on a mission towards living audaciously and embracing all the possibilities that life has to offer. Now, imagine forgiveness as a soothing balm. Just as a balm heals and restores the skin, forgiveness soothes the spirit and mends emotional wounds. It's a powerful tool that can transform pain into peace. And in today's episode, we delve into the transformative power with our guest, Katharine Giovanni. Katharine is a renowned author, speaker, trainer, and all-around great person with 3 decades of experience, having overcome significant personal challenges, including a difficult upbringing and the loss of her mother. Katharine has dedicated her life to helping others find both healing and empowerment through forgiveness. Her unique approach to forgiveness is both practical and quite profound, I'll add, making her a sought-after voice in the personal development circles. Katharine's insights on forgiveness are crucial for today's discussion. Her personal journey from a place of anger to peace provides a compelling backdrop for understanding how forgiveness can lead to living an audacious life. As someone who has walked this path herself, Katharine offers authentic and actionable advice that listeners can apply to their own lives. So now that we've got you all set, let's turn to our conversation with Katharine. Enjoy. Katharine, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate making the time to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we had a great pre-chat before we pressed record. I felt like we probably could have pressed record a long time ago, but for me, the opportunity to engage in these very healthy dialogues is how I like to refer to them as, because we're actually through the art of conversation, if you will, we are potentially creating opportunities for individuals to find ways where they can live their best audacious life ever. And so that's exciting to me. I feel blessed to be able to get, again, I truly do feel blessed to be in these dialogues. And I guess I want to thank you for helping me sort of, fulfill my mission, if you will. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
You yourself, you do a bit of speaking, a bit of writing, some training, a little bit of everything. Yeah, that keeps you going. But the thing specifically that you focus on is on forgiveness, which
Yep.
I think is an absolutely delightful topic of conversation. And I was really excited to have you to sit down with you today and have this conversation. Because forgiveness is one of those topics that every single one of us, we know exactly what it is, but not
True.
every single one of us are really good at practicing it, right?
Because nobody's taught you how. They tell you have to forgive, and
Right.
you're left, okay. And then you're thinking, well, how do I do that? Because I don't want to.
And I would also
Because I'm
imagine too,
thinking of one specific
right?
person, and I don't want to.
Right. And I would also imagine too, that's a very real example. And then you
Sure.
have other cases where they think they're forgiving, but they're not. So they're
That's right.
trying to, right? And that's not done very well either.
I mean, the
So
people who look at me and say, I already did forgive that blah, 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 beep.
yes, those are the ones. Those are the ones.
Possibly you might want to make another pass.
Let's try again.
Do it again.
So maybe as a starting point to sort of fill our audience in a little bit about you and the work that you do, I wonder if you could sort of fill in some of those gaps and perhaps talk about what got you to the point that you're at now.
Well, the way I talk about forgiveness, just as a little cliffhanger, is different than anybody else's.
Okay.
That's just a little cliffhanger.
Okay.
But my journey started when I was in the 8th grade. My parents were getting a horrible divorce. I was bullied in school really quite badly. And as a result, I tried to commit suicide. And I was living in New York City at the time, and I turned into one of those angry teenagers. You know who I'm talking about. You've met these kids. They're angry. They have one friend. They're draped in black. And I just kind of bobbled my way through life, like bobbling in the ocean, until about 15 years later when my mother got sober. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in Lenox Hill Hospital with a broken hip. I mean, she was clever, but not that clever. So it forced her to dry out.
Right.
And I had 3 very beautiful years with her. We were as close as sisters. We forgave each other. And then she got breast cancer and she died. So that kind of threw me for a loop. And I was really quite alone. I had one friend. I went from work to home to grocery store, work, home, grocery store. And I knew there wasn't a life. And I always had this gut feeling that there was something bigger out there for me. And I knew I had this kind of aha moment that if I didn't change my life, I was going to die like my mother. So I quit drinking, been sober now for almost 33 years. And I decided to start saying, forgiving people. And I didn't want to tell anybody I was doing that because I was a very private person, but I didn't know how to do it because nobody told me. So I just kind of gave it lip service. Okay, I forgive you. I don't know if there was any energy behind it, but the little I did really did help. I eventually met my husband, who I've been married to for 32 years. And life went on until I'm a concierge trainer. I've retired from it, but customer service concierge training. That's where my training is. And I can't legitimately teach you to be warm, friendly, and approachable and say these beautiful words and dress appropriately if you're angry inside. Because your anger is going to bleed through your body language, and whether you wanted to or not. So I had to come up with a method that would allow people to lose their anger. And in those days, you didn't bring a soft topic to a business workshop. You just didn't. Well, because I'm crazy and an overachiever, I did. And I taught people how to forgive. And that's actually legitimately how it all started.
I love it. I mean, and I say that because probably in most cases, individuals that get into the work of helping others or trying to assist others, generally have gone through their own individual journey, and they've gone through their own healings and their own pathway to get to that place that they're at. And so, for you to authentically have gone through your own struggles, challenges, and have come out the other side, powerful and mighty and strong, when they're turning out and help others, I think it's an absolutely beautiful thing. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. It was not easy. I'm a breast cancer survivor too. So,
Wow.
because I'm an overachiever, I've written a few books about all these crazy things that I've done, kind of like God's guinea pig at this point, getting a little tired of it. But in my world, in the forgiveness world, you said something at the beginning of the podcast that nobody's ever said before. You said forgiveness is delightful. I think you're the only person that's ever said that to me, because for many people, forgiveness is not really delightful. And for people listening or watching this right now, they're thinking about the unforgivable person that's in their life who is not delightful. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being a dumpster fire, unforgivable, That's what everybody thinks. So the word scares everybody because very reasonably, they don't want to forgive their number 10 unforgivable person. Sometimes it's not even appropriate to forgive that person. So in my world, here we go, buckle up, people. You don't have to forgive that number 10 person. Drop the mic. Why don't you have to forgive that number 10 person? Because there's a bunch of other people you can forgive first. How about the people you've rated a 1, 2, or 3 on the other side? That kid in grammar school who stole your lunch, you can forgive them. The person who cut you off in aisle 4 of the grocery store yesterday, you can forgive that person. How about the employee who always steals your lunch every day at work? I hope you can forgive that person. You can start with those people, and that's going to open up your life.
So
Start with the hard ones.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So the idea then is that it's okay not to forgive some people then.
Some people. Now, when it comes to your number 10s, you know, let's
I want to be clear. So sorry. Number 10 is that's like top dumpster
horrific.
fire. That's the worst they've ever done.
Yep.
Okay.
It's like if for a woman, let's say it was her rapist, to use a very horrible example. That's the kind of thing. Now, can you forgive your rapist? There are some beautiful, lovely people out there on the planet who can absolutely forgive these horrific things. I wrote the book on this subject, and I'm not even sure I could. It's hard. And the reason I call it a dumpster fire is because there's other things in that dumpster that you can pick out before you even get to the person. You can, and this is where I tell in the book, you can forgive people, places, and things. Stay with me. Places and things. Because when it comes to the dumpster fire, okay, let's say you were raped in Central Park in New York City. You can forgive the park. You can forgive the people around you. You can forgive the path. If it's a school thing from your kids for the bullies, you can forgive your desk. You can forgive the building. You can forgive the chair. You can forgive your childhood home. You can forgive these things before you even get to that person. And the real secret sauce to my whole method, and there's a step-by-step program inside the book, is everybody forgets about the energy. Einstein proved energy is neither created nor destroyed, and it just transforms itself. So when you get angry, everybody thinks it goes from your body and your mouth and floats very happily up into the stratosphere. Yeah, it does not. It hangs in your energy field.
Right.
So, and it's not going to change. It's going to follow you. So for anybody listening, I'm actually holding an opaque coffee cup in front of me. So when I'm first angry, I can hold this off to the side. Real easy. But the longer I stay angry and the longer I don't forgive, eventually, now look at my body language. Before, you and I could talk, I could go out to dinner, I could see things, but within front of me, all I can see is the anger. And that's all I talk about. So why do your friends disappear? Because they don't want to be around you because you're negative and angry all the time. Who wants to be around that? So your world gets tiny. And as you forgive, your world will open up. You'll start to, coffee will taste better. You might even lose some weight. There's a reason to buy the book. Why will you lose weight? Why will you get more money? Because you're going to notice things. You weren't noticing things before because you were too focused on the inside, on your anger. You're going to notice opportunities. You're going to notice people, and your life is going to open up, which will give you impetus to continue doing it.
And it fits beautifully into what we talk about here on this podcast. Like you can't have that wonderful life full of happiness and fulfillment if you've got this thing that's still in front of you. And for many people, this thing is anger, right? This thing is resentment. This thing is lack of forgiveness. So I think my natural question then would be for those who and you might not even know it's there too. That's part of this too, right? It could be there subconsciously, but let's just stay in the present. We know what's going. We know what it is. How does someone sort of adopt I guess a mindset of forgiveness?
Well, the first thing you have to do is I'll answer a question that I always get from people when they read the book and they do the process. They will look me dead in the eye and say, "I have forgiven them." Okay. Then why are you thinking of them still? Why are they still in your head? See, the thing about forgiveness is what you really want is you want them out of your head. So you may have forgiven the person, but did you forgive the energy around the person? Forgive yourself, the energy around yourself. That's how they stay forgiven. How do you know that they were free, that you've, how do you know you've forgiven them? Well, when you can look at their name and it doesn't cause an emotional response. You're not happy, you're not sad, you're just neutral. And it doesn't mean they were right. And I'm going to answer your question in a second. It doesn't mean that they were correct. Let's be clear. It doesn't. If somebody else in your family has a good memory about this person and they're looking at you like you're a crazy person, you know, with all due respect, I don't care about your family member. I care about you. And you're the one that matters to me. And you had the negative experience. So you're the one we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so those things being clear, when you start with, you create a list of people that you want to forgive, and then you rate them from 1 to 10, and you start with your number ones. To create a forgiveness mindset is really forgiving those number 1s, 2s, and 3 people, which will make you feel better. And then practicing that every night before you go to bed, and also writing down the 3 things that you're most grateful for, which could be a hot cup of coffee and the sun is shining today. If that's all you can come up with, that works for me. And looking at things positively. When I was sick for 4 years with breast cancer, and telling people to be positive is a really easy thing to come, you know, off my lips, but it's very hard to practice when you're knee deep in chemotherapy. So it becomes a minute by minute choice that you have to do. And practicing forgiveness and positivity is going to change your life. It's going to open everything up, because at the end of the day, all we have is the present, and really all we are is love. So you're just kind of walking away from all the hate, and you might want to turn the news off.
That would help. That would help an awful lot. So the idea then, and please correct me if I'm wrong or I've missed it, but the idea of dealing with the 1s and 2s and 3s, is it a form of sort of building momentum to work up to the 10s?
Yeah, it is. And in my world, there's a very simple mantra that you say when you forgive somebody. You don't have to reach out to these people. I have great respect for recovery programs who want you to reach out and make amends. I don't require you to do that. You don't have to tell anybody. Forgiveness is personal. It's selfish. You do it for you because you want them out of your head. You want to stop thinking about these people and move on with your life. That's what you want.
Right.
So you can sit in your room, in your house. Nobody has to know except your dog. That's it. You don't have to do anything. And you imagine the person in front of you, and you can say anything you want to the person because this is your party, and you can cry or laugh if you want to. And then once you do, you put your hand in your heart, you say my little mantra, and life goes on. I always want you to check in with yourself. If you still feel anger, you look at the name. If you're still feeling anger, you're kind of looking at it saying, well, it was a 5, it might be a 4 now. Then I want you to wait 24 hours and try it again. This is an onion. And as you peel off more layers, more memories are going to come off and might piss you off again, to be perfectly blunt. So you want to keep at it. This is a marathon, my friend. It is not a sprint.
I'm so glad.
Take a minute.
I'm so glad that you touched on the possibility of getting angry again, because
you might.
It is part of the process. And so
Yeah.
So for people who are saying, oh, okay, I tried to forgive, but I'm still mad.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of what you're going through, and you continue to do the work.
But you forgave some of the energy, so you're going to feel a little bit better. But you're still really mad because what they did was horrible. Okay, well, put them to the back of the list. Go with somebody else, somebody easier. That's why I want you to leave your number 10s for last. Are you ever going to be done? Okay. Human beings irritate other human beings. So no,
on a regular
you will never be done. Somebody's always going to piss you off.
Yeah.
Probably a family member. It's going to happen.
It's the ones that are closest to us, right?
Right?
The ones we love the most.
You're like, I thought I did forgive them. And it happens to me too. And I have forgiven everybody. And every once in a while, it's like, you know, clearly I need to practice some forgiveness tonight, I will say to myself.
Right.
Do it again.
So I hope you realize, and you probably have gotten feedback, that this is a very different approach than what the conventional pathway of forgiveness looks like. And so, you know, people are going to have a difficult time with this, aren't they?
Some people have a difficult time, but the good news is, because I'm having you start with the easy people, you're going to be able to pick those off pretty quickly, and you're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel brighter. Now, there are some side effects to this, like any medication. You might be tired after you do your first round because the energy in your body has to go someplace. Here's a quick story for you. I really am an overachiever, and I came up with this method, and I thought, okay, I created a list of like 50, 60 people, and I thought, I'm going to blast through all of this all at once.
Yep.
And I know my body heals itself at night. So I advise everybody, including myself, to do it before you go to bed. So you can sleep and your body can heal. Okay, not so much when you do 50 of them. I was in bed for 3 days with what people thought was, to be perfectly blunt, the stomach flu. It was not the stomach flu. It was my body trying to get rid of the energy. Now, what do I mean by that? I have a whole science chapter up for you naysayers out there in the book. And I cannot pronounce this gentleman's name for the life of me. He's a Japanese researcher who studied water. You can Google him. His name was Matsumoto or something like that. He's right online. So are the pictures. He took, and I'm really dumbing this down, he took 2 containers of water. One container, he said the most beautiful things in the world to. He treated it nice. He put it in sunlight. I mean, he did everything he could. The other container, he said nasty things. He swore at it. He put it in a dark closet. He did all these horrible things. And then he put him under a microscope. The water that he said negative things to had these dark black and brown malformations. You can see the pictures online. They're wild. And the water that he actually preached love to were these beautiful, crystalline, gorgeous pictures. Okay, that being said, we are 98% water. So when you're angry, think of what the water inside your body is doing. So when they say anger is toxic, that's pretty much what people are saying. Though the water in your body is going to turn toxic and it's going to make you sick. Forgiveness is going to release all that energy from you, and it's going to actually, now I'm not saying it's going to cure things, but you're going to feel 100% better, and you're going to be open to opportunities that probably will heal you that you wouldn't have noticed before.
Wow. No, I think that's a fabulous illustration, and if that doesn't get people's attention, I don't know what will. But you're absolutely correct in terms of the what anger can do to us in terms of the toxicity, and it is a process because it's so you'll have some individuals that know this is not good and still can't do anything about it. They still are angry. They still can't,
because they're thinking of their 7, 8s, 9s, and 10 people. That's who they're thinking of. If you make your list, they're still angry because, let's say, they're usually family. Let's just be fair. It's the people in your childhood, because that's what we're carrying around, isn't it? It's the bullies. It's the people you probably going to rate an 8 or above. One woman looked at me and said, they're a 15. I said, okay, they're dead last. You might want to save them for last if they're a 15. She was very angry. Starting with the 1s, 2s, and 3s, you're going to start to feel better, and you're going to think, oh, this is doing something. I feel better. So you'll keep going. And people are going to notice. They're going to look at you and say, did you get a haircut, lose weight? Do you have a different outfit on? You look so good today. Well, maybe you have gotten a new outfit or a haircut, but it's because your face is different. It's lighter. It's not as rigid because you're not angry anymore. At least you're not as angry.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, sure. And there are degrees of anger too, right? So if you want to bring that down, then that's you're stepping in the right direction.
Well, you can't get a 10 down to a 1 in one sitting. You're going to get the 10 to a 9 to a 7. Yep. So you can see how many rounds it's probably going to take. And if the first round doesn't work, okay, don't forgive the person. Forgive stuff in the memory. Forgive the house, the chair, the sofa, the meal, the restaurant. I don't care what it is. Forgive the stuff around it and the energy around it. Pick apart the memory and start forgiving stuff around it. And I think you're going to find yourself feeling better.
Kind of like a brain hack, and
it is.
Yeah, right. That you're looking around, you're finding a way to circumvent the issue, but still working towards it, right? We're not ignoring it. We're just kind of saying, okay, let's go this way instead of that way.
You're just going to put the actual person in a corner for a while. You'll come back to them. It's like coming upon a wall in your path. Most people think I'm going to break down that wall. I can't tell you how many articles I've read online. I'm going to break through the wall, and here are the tools you need to break through the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I just walk around the darn thing? Do I have to break it through it? Can I walk around it and circle back and come back to it later? This is going to allow you to do that. It's still going to be back there, but
yes, not going nowhere. Yeah.
you can circle around it and turn around and come back. Or
That's
if
right.
it's something really dark, don't come back.
That's
Keep
right.
going.
Well,
You don't have to.
It's essentially moving yourself away from it, right? It
Right.
can stay where it's at, tied to an anchor, and let it sit there and not move. But you can move.
Yeah. And remember, the person you're mad at, they're not thinking about you.
No,
You kind of think they are, but they're not. They're going out to dinner. They're conducting their life. They're not thinking about you, which kind of makes you even more mad. I'm angry. You should be thinking about this,
I'm
but
mad at you.
they're not even giving you a second thought, to be honest.
You talked earlier about not having to tell that person. Could you sort of, because that's there are many who will say, hey, confront them, as you talked about earlier. I wonder if you should expand on that, because for many, I mean, I don't know if that's a misconception or just a belief that, not say belief, a method that people use, but it's not one that has to be done. Is really what I'm.
You can talk to them if you want to, but I don't want to. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I don't want to talk to you. If you're my number 9 or 10, I don't want a relationship with you. And quite frankly, I don't want to talk to you. And if they're a narcissist, they're going to twist everything around. They're going to put you back in the seat of you're wrong and I'm right. And you're going to be right back there. So if I'm really, no, I'm not saying you can't reach out to them. You can.
Right.
But, family are the people I choose to be family. They're not necessarily blood. These are the people I'm choosing to make my family members.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm blessed with a good inner circle around me. And, maybe I'm just a belligerent child, but frankly, I don't want to talk to these people. And I've forgiven so many people now that you don't have to reach out to them if you don't want to. It's okay. You don't have to. Now, if you're in recovery and it's one of these steps, I am sober for 32 years, reach out, make amends. It's going to make you feel better. It's like a doctor. I'm not telling you to stop taking, medication or anything like that. But if you're like me and you don't want to reach out to them, honey, you don't have to.
Yeah. There's nothing.
Do it for you. Don't do it for them.
Yeah. I think that's,
you're the prisoner, not them.
I think that's do it for you. I think that's a fabulous state of mind to keep in mind, because we're talking about your health, your own well-being, your state of mind.
They're in your head. They're living rent-free in your head. Think about that. They're living in your head. What if I used to get mad at people who said they're living rent-free in your head? And I used to get mad at that because I thought, no, they're not living rent-free, yet they were. And then you've got the people who have the story. I had the story. I survived a pretty rough childhood. I had the story and I wrote about it and I said, here I am. I'm a survivor of these horrible things. And I even spun the story funny, but I was still telling the story. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't have my story, who was I going to be? That's very scary. If I'm not my story, who are you? Well, forgiveness is going to allow you to be the person you were always meant to be and the reason you were brought to this planet. It's going to allow you to be your authentic self and be the person you were meant to be from birth.
I love it. There is a part of this, or people, and so part of what the struggle when it comes to forgiveness is that whole sense of right and wrong, right? I think that's a part of that, and I get it, absolutely.
I get that.
That people were wrong, and now all of a sudden you're forgiving them, like this isn't an admission of anything like that at all.
Doesn't mean they were right. No. They're still wrong. When you can forgive somebody and they're still wrong, the memory is still dark and black and nasty, but you want to be free. Yeah. Being angry at somebody is like having an invisible cord tied between you and that person. And that's the last person you want to be tied to. So when you forgive them, you're cutting that cord and moving on with your life. They were still wrong. They are still nasty. They might even be doing it to other people. And at this point, with all due respect, I don't care. I care about you. I care about me. I'm doing it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've sort of been in situations where I've had to forgive, right? Like, and I've forgiven,
Yeah.
absolutely. I've been forgiven. I've been on both sides of the
Mhm.
coin. But, I've been in situations where I've had to forgive. And, I am certain that I've done so. I don't have anger when I think about the individual. I'm not carrying anything.
Perfect.
But every so often, when they come to mind, a small sort of,
There it
oh yeah, I
is.
remember that.
You
Have I
didn't
have
forgive
I
the
have I
energy.
have I completely forgiven in that case, or is there still more work to be done?
You did.
'Cause,
There's a
I'm
little
sorry,
more work to do.
I'm sorry. The part of the reason why I'm asking is I feel that uh, there's always a remnant of something left, like a residue of some sort.
Yeah.
So even if you for absolutely and you've forgiven, I still think there's something there. It may not be dominating, it may not, but I still think there's a remnant of some sort. And that's why I asked, well, have I, or is that an indication that there's still more work to be done?
It's an indication that you didn't forgive the energy.
Okay.
That's what you're feeling. There's still some energetic tie to that person. You have forgiven them, you've done all the work, but when you see their name, there's just that little something that's still there, that's kind
Right.
of pricking you in the back of your mind. And these are the people that have a nasty habit of not staying forgiven, because they come back into your field and you're like, I've done the work, but you irritate the crap out of me. Let's be, and you think of that memory again, and it's because you didn't forgive the energy. And that's
Gotcha.
the piece that, once I realized that, that's the piece that allows you to completely move on from people. You forgive the energy. And then that feeling when they come into your world again, you're just going to look at them and you're not going to like them. You're not going to hate them. You just won't care. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for neutrality. I'm looking for you to say, I don't care anymore.
Mm.
You might even be able to shake their hand, maybe, depending upon what level they started at.
Right. Right. Baby
Can you
steps.
shake hands with a number, with a person you labeled an 8, and you finally got them down to a 1 and you were able to toss them? Yes, I actually can.
Sure.
But in the back of my mind, the memory hits you virtually immediately. And that night I do a little forgiveness pass on it, because I do, just to make sure they stay dead and buried. No disrespect intended, but yeah, we're human with
Yeah.
human emotions. These things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest people to forgive is yourself. What if
That
you're the number 10?
I was actually going to get into the forgiveness of self, because the forgiveness of self, my belief is, if you forgive yourself first, that makes the way easier for
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. This is the first book of 3. At least I'm thinking it's going to be 3. And the next book, which I'm working on right now, is how to truly forgive your number 10s and how to forgive yourself. Will be the focus of the next book. But I do advise you go through the same steps that I've outlined in the book if your number 10 is somebody else, or if it's you. And if it's you who you need to forgive, again, pick out things around whatever you're beating yourself up for. Pick other things out of the memory: what you ate, what you wear, where you were, and forgive that and the energy around it. A friend of mine wrote down her list, and she wrote down a little red wagon. And I said, "Why did you write down a little red wagon?" And Katie's like, "I have no idea." Well, on some level, she was mad at the damn thing. So she forgave a little red wagon and the energy around it. So these are kinds of things. I want you to just write your list without thinking. And if you write down something very strange, like a little red wagon, go
Mhm.
for it, because obviously it did
Yep.
something to you as a child, and you got to forgive the darn thing. Do you really need to know what happened? No, I really don't think you do. I really don't think it matters. I've never have. I don't think, people have forgotten horrific events in their life. Do you really want to go through hypnosis and remember it? I think the brain protects us of things we don't need to know. And if we forgive it, I think, one and
Move
done.
on. Yeah, move on, move on. Well, there's a
Yeah.
part of this where, um, yes, this is an important exercise. Yes, we're making our lists. Yes, we're identifying the tens. But there's a part of this where we don't want to be spending all of our time in the past,
No.
right? We want to also think about the present and moving forward too.
I'm only asking you, for those people that are resisting what we're saying today because they don't want to revisit the past because it was a horrific past. I actually am asking you to go back there one more time so you can clear it permanently
Mhm.
and never have to think about it again. I can remember my childhood. I can dredge up the old bad stories if you want to. I mean, I knew my parents had a problem when they were giving scotch to the dog. Surely that couldn't be normal. I'm just saying. But, I can dredge up those weird stories, but now I look at the love that was there. I look at the love I had from friends and from other family members, and I can legitimately pick out the love of a particular teacher if you didn't have family. There's always love back there. And
Gotcha.
that's what I see now. So I'm only asking you to go back one more time to clear all the sludge so you never have to think about it ever again and you could stop telling the stories.
As you say, go back one more time. I've got images of the DeLorean from Back to the Future,
That's
and
it.
let's give that flux capacitor one more try and get
One
back
more
there one more
try.
time and
One
deal with
more
it. And
trip.
that's it. That's it. One more trip. For our listeners, I know we talked about the book again. It's called The Ultimate Path to Forgiveness, Unlocking Your Power. Just for a moment, Katharine, I want to talk about that second part of the subtitle, Unlocking Your Power. And what does that mean?
Unlocking your power. You've kept your power in a closet for years. And the energy that you've taken up by focusing on anger, you're transforming that into love. So when you finally allow that to go, imagine the possibilities in your life. Let me tell you a really fast story. This is
Sure.
absolutely true. I decided to forgive one of my number ones.
Okay.
Friend of mine from long ago, 40 years. It was,
Piece of
grammar, high
cake.
school, whatever it was. I forgave her. I
Yeah.
haven't spoken to this person in over 30 years.
Okay.
So I sat and I forgave her. Couldn't even remember what we were mad at. 2 hours later, true story, she called me up on the phone. And
Wow.
I was absolutely blown away because I haven't spoken to her for forever.
Wow.
So we made the appropriate noises and words and we got back together and, that kind of thing. We caught up after all the centuries that had gone by. But I'm a curious little bear. And I said, I have to know, after all these years,
Wow.
why did you call me today? And she said, it was the darndest thing. 2 hours ago, which was when I was saying the forgiveness mantra, she said a figurine you gave me flew off my dresser and landed on the floor in front of me, and I looked at it and thought I should give you a call. So
Wow.
if forgiveness energy can do that 700 miles away
Wow.
for a number one person, can you imagine what that's going to do to your life and your body and the people around you when you get it into the higher numbers? Forgiveness is powerful, powerful stuff.
Yeah. 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 I'm curious. Tell what does the mantra look or sound like? Or is it,
I'm a very simple soul, my friend, and I don't require you to burn sage or dance up and down or sing or chant or,
oh, good. Good. I used it
recite
all up. I
anything.
used up the last forgiveness journey I went on, so it's
I
good.
can't know. You can dance if you want to, but it's really, I forgive the person, the energy. I'll have you put your hand on your chest, on your heart,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, it's the energy that's going to make the difference. The words are just for humans. The
Sure.
words are just for you. It's the feeling behind the words that's actually going to move it. And I forgive you. I forgive the energy around you. I forgive me for anything I may or may not have done. I forgive the energy around me. I forgive the energy around the entire thing. And I actually will say that even if I'm in the grocery store, I've gotten so good at it, I will often just do it on the fly. But when you're first starting, because you're new at this, please do it before bed. Please, and only do 10 to 12 at a time unless you want to make yourself physically sick. Just do 10 at a time and do it every night. There's some worksheets in the back of the book for those of you that like worksheets.
Awesome. Awesome.
Or a yellow pad of paper and a pen works really good.
It does too. I heard that rumor too. I heard that rumor too. For where are we sending people to pick up a copy of their book, Katharine?
You can go to my website, which is my first name is spelled very, very strangely, thanks to my mother. Thanks, Mom. Katharine Giovanni, and Katharine is spelled Katharine, Giovanni.com. You can also go to Amazon. And for those of you that don't like to read, I have your back. On Amazon, we have the audiobook available, the ebook available, and the paperback.
Lovely. I love the options.
Not everybody likes to read. I understand that.
Katharine, this has been absolutely a fabulous conversation. I'm so delightful that we had the time together. Thank you for being here. Congratulations on the great work, and keep it up.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
I would agree. We had a lot of fun. Take care. Back we are here on the podcast. And, forgiveness is often misunderstood. And many of us think that we know what it means, yet we struggle to practice it effectively. Katharine teaches us that forgiveness is not just about saying, I forgive you. It's about releasing the anger and resentment that binds us to the past. Through her journey, Katharine has learned that forgiveness as a gift is something that we give ourselves, freeing our energy to focus on what truly matters. And when we forgive, we unlock our potential to live audaciously, embracing life with open arms and an open heart. I encourage you to connect with Katharine directly to learn more about her work and insights. You can find her contact details in the show notes below, where you'll also discover special offers and resources that she's providing exclusively for our listeners. In fact, Katharine is offering a free ebook on the first steps to practical forgiveness, and that's available to all our podcast listeners. So be sure to check out the show notes below on how you can access this valuable resource. I want to say thank you for tuning into the Audacious Living Podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please consider following, subscribing, or sharing if you haven't already done so. Your support helps us grow and continue bringing more inspiring content. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.